You've always been completely dependent on our parents. It's you who keeps causing trouble for our mom. Stop blaming us without recognizing your own faults. When I criticize my brother, Joey, who keeps staying at home, he turns around and blames me instead. I am working properly and contributing to the household finances. When I argue back, Joey snorts in derision. What's the point in being proud over such a trivial amount? Ultimately, as the eldest son, I will inherit this house. If you have a problem with it, then just get the hell out. Really, if you weren't here, we could live more comfortably. Joey and I will take care of the in-laws, so you don't need to stay here anymore. Just get out. Vanessa also sneered coldly, looking down on me. After all, it's obvious that our excuse of just until we find a new place was a lie. Since we've been accepted as family, it's your loss. So, get out of here. Joey waved his hand at me as if to shoo away an annoyance. Their attitude brought my anger to a boiling point. It was because of the money I earned that Joey and his wife were able to live comfortably, yet they refused to acknowledge this fact and insult me, treating me as if I'm unemployed. By now, my sympathy for them had completely vanished. Fine, I'll leave. When I said this, Joey and his wife smiled with satisfaction. Mandy, are you okay? Having witnessed everything, my mother asked me worriedly. I'm fine. Actually, there's something I want to talk to you about. With that, I proceed with a plan I've had for a while. I am Mandy. This year, I turned 31. During my childhood, I was weaker than other kids, frequently in and out of the hospital with asthma and pneumonia. This made attending school regularly difficult, and I felt out of place among my peers. I had an older brother, Joey, 2 years my senior, with our parents alternating visits during my hospital stays. Joey often found himself alone at home, leading our parents to regret making him feel so alone. Initially, Joey was concerned about my health, but as our parents spent more and more time with me, his attitude towards me gradually worsened. Why is it always Mandy who gets all the attention? Pay attention to me too, not just Mandy. Joey said this to our parents when he was in second grade of elementary school. At the time, I was in the highest class of kindergarten. According to hospital regulations, preschool children had to be accompanied by a parent for the duration of their hospital stay. Once I reached elementary school, it wasn't necessary for my parents to be with me constantly, theoretically allowing Joey to have their undivided attention. Yet, his harsh attitude towards me and his grievances persisted. Even after moving on to middle school, where I struggled to fit in and make friends, Joey ridiculed me when he saw me alone. Haha, can't you make even a single friend? This is what you get for being coddled by our parents since you were a child. Being alienated at school was bad enough, but receiving such harsh words from Joey was even more painful for me. After graduating high school, I chose not to pursue college or vocational school but to work from home. My experiences of not fitting in from elementary to high school played a part, but I was also intrigued by the world of finance, which I had read about in newspapers and magazines while hospitalized. By high school, I had developed a yearning to become a day trader. Initially, my parents were concerned about my career choice, but after persuading them, they encouraged me, saying, "Since it's the path you've chosen, give it your all." Meanwhile, Joey was far from supportive of my decision. What? You're not going to college and will work from home? Isn't that essentially the same as being unemployed? He would say such things, always looking down on me. However, Joey, who went to a private college, never worked part-time and always found reasons to ask our parents for money. It's about time you earn your own spending money. Really, Joey? You should stop relying on our wallets, our parents would advise, but Joey refused to listen. Yeah, I get it, but there are people who live off their parents' support, right? He would say, deliberately glancing at me. At least I'm going to college, which is better than her. It's unfair to say only I should work. To what Joey said, my mother kindly replied, "That's not true. Mandy is earning a decent income and supporting our family's finances. You can get your allowance because Mandy is contributing to our household. What? How can you think that a shut-in like her who stays in her room all day can earn that much? You have always spoiled her too much. That's why she's such a failure now. No matter how much my mother would say, Joey wouldn't listen. But if I said something, he would just get angrier. Wanting to avoid conflict, I just quietly listened to his words. I'm really sorry, Mandy. It's okay, Mom. I don't mind at all. After Joey returned to his room, our mother, looking guilty, apologized to me. I didn't want to make her worry about sibling issues. Seeing me act cheerfully, she expressed her gratitude and patted my head. That was enough to make me happy. Joey continued to enjoy his carefree college life and moved out after graduating. During that time, we didn't hear from him, and our family continued to live a peaceful life. However, as time passed, our parents aged, and our house, now 30 years old, also started to show its age. Mom, Dad, the house is getting quite old. Maybe it's time to think about renovations. Yes, we've been feeling tired more easily lately, and the house is showing its age. We've been thinking about renovations. Considering the future, we need to be cautious about finances. In response to our parents' serious conversation, I continued, don't worry about money. I have some savings, but you should save that money for your future. Don't worry, you both always supported me when I was in trouble. Now I want to help if I can. Please let me repay you. Against their objections, I decided to renovate our home to make it barrier-free. We were spending peaceful and serene days with our parents until a recent incident changed everything. Hey, Mandy, don't just space out. Bring some coffee quickly. The person sitting boldly on the sofa in the living room was none other than Joey, whom I hadn't seen in 2 years. As soon as he returned home without notice, Joey started treating me like a servant. Wow, is this the shut-in Joey was talking about? Who stays holed up at home all day long? The woman with heavy makeup next to him was his wife, Vanessa. Despite it being her first visit, her brazen behavior was clear proof that she and my brother shared similar traits. I know, right? By the way, are you still not employed? Don't you have any self-awareness? My brother mockingly insulted me. That's none of your business. Besides, what brings you here all of a sudden? Not liking my confident response, Joey quickly got to the heart of the matter. We've decided to move back into the family home. What? I was shocked by Joey's declaration. With our parents aging, it's only natural for me, the eldest son, to live with them as they might start having difficulties. That might be true, but it's unnecessary because Mandy is here. My mother gently declined Joey's offer, but his wife and he seemed dissatisfied with the answer. What are you talking about? We can't rely on such an incompetent person. That's right. Why don't you live with us? Plus, we need to leave our current apartment by the end of this month, and we'll be moving in next week. Looking forward to it. Saying this, Joey and his wife left. Mandy, I'm sorry, but until Joey and his wife find a new place, could you stay and live together? I understand. It's fine with me. Thank you. Living with Joey and his wife was, to be honest, not pleasant. Still, I decided to endure it until he found a new place. Days later, Joey and Vanessa arrived with loads of luggage and quickly began to claim their space in the family home. As time passed, their belongings remained intact, and the house became increasingly cluttered. No matter how much my mother and I cleaned up, it would quickly become messy again. Vanessa, could you please put things back where you found them after using them? Shouldn't the person who finds it out of place be the one to fix it? Even when approached, Vanessa was too absorbed in her manicure to budge. Joey would make excuses about being too busy with work to help with house chores. Mother, this dinner is a bit bland. I'd prefer something more fancy. Every meal, Vanessa would complain without lifting a finger, criticizing the food my mother prepared. Exactly. Mom, why don't you make steak or beef stew instead? Joey and Vanessa would start to voice their complaints together. If you have complaints, you should cook for yourselves. What? Did the shut-in say something? Joey, Mandy, stop it. I'll reconsider the menu, so please be quiet, Mom. When I reached my limit and confronted Joey, he turned his anger toward me. This kind of exchange became a daily occurrence, suffocating the atmosphere at home. Moreover, Joey and Vanessa made no effort to contribute to the living expenses. Despite my financial contribution to the home renovation to ease my parents' burden, Joey and Vanessa's wastefulness only increased it. Unable to overlook this, I asked with frustration, "Joey, how's the search for a new home going?" "What? I'm still looking." "Stop nagging." Joey snapped back with a hostile tone. Hesitant for a moment, I knew backing down would only embolden his arrogance. "Find a new place quickly and move out. Our parents can't keep this up." When I firmly responded, Joey suddenly stood up and yelled, "You've always been completely dependent on our parents. It's you who keeps causing trouble for our mom. Stop blaming us without recognizing your own faults." When I criticize my brother, Joey, who keeps staying at home, he turns around and blames me instead. I am working properly and contributing to the household finances. When I argue back, Joey snorts in derision. What's the point in being proud over such a trivial amount? Ultimately, as the eldest son, I will inherit this house. If you have a problem with it, then just get the hell out. Really, if you weren't here, we could live more comfortably. Joey and I will take care of the in-laws, so you don't need to stay here anymore. Just get out. Vanessa also sneers coldly, looking down on me. After all, it's obvious that our excuse of just until we find a new place was a lie. Since we've been accepted as family, it's your loss. So, get out of here. Joey waved his hand at me as if to shoo away an annoyance. Their attitude brought my anger to a boiling point. It was because of the money I earned that Joey and his wife were able to live comfortably, yet they refused to acknowledge this fact and insulted me, treating me as if I'm unemployed. By now, my sympathy for them had completely vanished. "Fine, I'll leave." When I said this, Joey and his wife smiled with satisfaction. "Mandy, are you okay?" Having witnessed everything, my mother asked me worriedly. "I'm fine. Actually, there's something I want to talk to you about." With that, I proceed with a plan I've had for a while. Weeks after leaving the house, I received numerous calls from Joey and Vanessa. Initially, I ignored them, but due to the excessive number of calls, I finally answered. "What's going on here? Where have Mom and Dad disappeared to? They haven't returned from their trip." Joey began to speak urgently. "We're running out of food, and I need to get some allowance from Mom and Dad. Do you know where they are?" I was infuriated by Joey and Vanessa, who were more concerned about their meals than the fact that our parents were missing. Seeing this moment as an opportunity to retaliate, I answered calmly, "Mom and Dad are with me right now." "What?" Joey was at a loss for words at my response. From the other end of the phone, I could hear Vanessa causing a fuss. "By the way, I wanted to say something. How about becoming independent and stop relying on your parents' support?" "What?" When I echoed the words Joey once directed at me, he raised his voice in indignation. "Why are you and Mom in the same place?" "Why?" "Because we've moved." Joey's irritation towards me increased in tone. Unable to watch this exchange any longer, Vanessa on the other end started speaking. "Mandy, could you lend us a hand? We're running out of living expenses." To Vanessa's request, I responded firmly. "Why do I have to support you? I have no responsibility to save you strangers." "What are you talking about?" Vanessa raised her voice, but I responded without flinching. "Also, I've decided to sell the house, so you'll need to leave by the end of this month." "What?" Vanessa was surprised at the unexpected announcement. "Wait a minute. What do you mean you're selling the house?" To Joey, who was puzzled, I conveyed the facts calmly. "Because I have no intention of living there anymore. Not living here, but that's our parents' house. Why would you get to decide to sell it?" "The reason is that I paid the $500,000 renovation cost in full, and during the renovation, Dad transferred the house to my name. But since you and Vanessa drove me out, with our parents' consent, I decided to sell the house." "What?" $500,000. Yes, you treated me like an unemployed leech, but in reality, I've been working as a day trader, earning over $10,000 a month. That much. Joey was shocked by the truth and lost for words. Faced with the precariousness of their situation, Joey and Vanessa suddenly changed their attitude and began to plead. Mandy, I truly apologize from the bottom of my heart. We deeply regret our mistakes. Could you give us just one more chance to live together warmly and peacefully as a family? Joey proposed with an unprecedented frail voice. In response, I gave a derisive sneer, similar to how Joey once treated me, and rejected his proposal. After all this time, you talk about family? I don't know how much effort you've put in, but how can I share the same space with someone who graduated from a third-rate university, works at a third-rate company, and chose a third-rate spouse? But at least let us talk to mom and dad. I'm begging you. Joey pleaded desperately, but my parents, listening through the speaker, silently shook their heads, quietly refusing his request. Through this exchange, the deep rift within the family became apparent, highlighting how fragile our bonds had become. After these events, it seems my parents had decided to sever ties with Joey. In a desperate situation, Joey appealed, "Please help. Our savings are gone, and I don't know how to make a living from now on." With tears in his voice. Despite his earnest plea, recalling the years of insults and cold treatment, I felt no sympathy for him. I told him calmly yet firmly, "You're in this situation because of your own actions. I want to cut off ties with you. So please leave the house by the end of this month." Just as Joey was about to respond, I cut off the call, maintaining control over my emotions. As a result, Joey and Vanessa had no choice but to leave the house. Their unplanned and wasteful lifestyle had caught up with them, depleting their savings, and Joey's income alone was insufficient to cover their living expenses. Eventually, they found themselves in a modest apartment, facing extremely tough times. Meanwhile, our family was enjoying a happy and comfortable life in a newly purchased barrier-free condominium. We spend our days enriching both mind and body, relaxing in the condominium's hot springs or borrowing books from the in-house library. My parents are very satisfied with this new living environment, and with deep gratitude to them, I continue to give my best at work every day. You are lucky, you know. All you have to do every day is housework. As a full-time homemaker for a family of 5, my husband constantly hurls insults at me. He seems to think I'm just lazing around at home, not doing anything, and living an easy life. But that is far from the truth. I am in charge of everything in this house. When I glare at him with a stern look, my husband just smirks with even more contempt. What's with that look? You're living off me, and yet you're quite defiant. Parasites living an easy life should just listen to what I say. Parasite? How can he say something so insensitive? At those harsh words, tears of sadness and frustration spill from my eyes. Seeing my state, my husband sighs with annoyance. Oh, come on. A crying parasite? What a nuisance. My name is Hillary. I'm 28 years old. I married Tom, who is a year older than me, 2 years ago. After getting married, we moved in with Tom's parents. In addition to Tom's parents, his brother, who is around the same age as Tom, also lives with us, making it a household of 5. My living situation changed drastically after marriage, and although I was initially anxious, Tom's parents and brother are very kind people who treat me well. Despite often hearing negative opinions about living with a spouse's family, it doesn't apply to me at all, and we've built a good relationship. Now, as a full-time homemaker, I take on all the housework in this home. Before marriage, I worked at a company, but Tom's parents asked me to become a full-time homemaker, so I quit my job. I've always enjoyed cooking, and since my parents both worked, I often helped with the housework when I lived at my parents' house. Therefore, I happily accepted Tom's parents' suggestion and am now desperately managing the housework for 5 people. The house is large and there are many of us, so it's tough. But I also feel a great sense of fulfillment. Thanks to Hillary taking on the housework, I can focus on my work with peace of mind. I'm truly grateful. My mother-in-law often expresses her gratitude. While I feel a bit uncomfortable with my mother-in-law thanking me so much, she smiles and says, "It's natural to express gratitude because you're protecting the home when no one else is around." Before marrying Tom, I heard from him that his mother was very strict. My mom can be quite scary when she's angry. It's better to just follow along and not say anything strange, Tom advised me when we were newlyweds. However, when I'm doing housework and have questions, my mother-in-law kindly teaches me. Indeed, my mother-in-law is strict, but living with her, I've come to see her as a sincere and compassionate person who dislikes dishonesty. I deeply respect her, considering she used to manage the housework in between work before I moved in. This is because Tom's family runs a business. Tom's father is the president of the company, and his mother holds an important position there. Having started the company together, Tom's parents possess significant business skills and seem very busy every day. Yet, despite their busy schedules, they take turns doing the housework on their days off to care for me. Tom's brother and Tom himself also work at their father's company. Being a large corporation, my family is essentially a successful one. Tom's brother is good at his work and has a pleasant personality, and he often helps me with the housework. I truly feel blessed to have such a family. Since getting married, I've thought I live in an environment without any complaints. But there's just one issue I haven't been able to confide in anyone. That issue is my husband, Tom. Before we got married, Tom was as kind and dependable as the rest of the family. However, since we started living together after marriage, his attitude began to change gradually. One night, after coming out of the bath, Tom threw these words at me. "Hillary, I can't find the shirt I'm wearing tomorrow." "Where is it?" "Sorry, I haven't finished ironing it yet. I'll give it to you once I'm done." "Huh? Why didn't you do that during the day? You had time, didn't you?" Perhaps because no other family members were around, Tom clicked his tongue at me. I did feel bad about the delay in ironing the shirt, but I had been out shopping for groceries during the day and didn't have time. Even if I tried to explain, Tom probably wouldn't listen. Tom seems to think being a full-time homemaker means living an easy life at home. Therefore, he looks down on me for not working, and his attitude towards me has clearly changed since I became a full-time homemaker. However, only Tom treats me with such disdain. Tom's parents and brother help me when I'm in trouble and express their gratitude, saying, "Thank you, always." The rest of the family naturally does these things. During these days, Tom began to make derogatory remarks about me being a full-time homemaker without the family noticing. It continued every day, and though I hoped he would come to understand, my wishes were in vain as things only got worse over time. One day, Tom came home early in the evening, claiming he had left work early, and started complaining after checking the state of the house. "Hey, you haven't even folded the laundry yet? You're always slow despite not working. What have you been doing all day? And heat the bath early. I'm tired from working all day. I've obviously been doing housework all day. That laundry is still drying, and preparing dinner is my top priority right now. Normally, the bath would be ready by the time you get home. It's only because you came back suddenly without notice today that I haven't started it yet." When I retorted, Tom snorted. "All day just for housework? How inefficient can you be? You've just been staying at home, haven't you? If you had cleaned the bath earlier, all you would need to do is fill it with water. How dare you speak so arrogantly?" I wish he would understand me a little, but Tom doesn't listen at all. Any counter-argument I make only comes back at me doubled, adding fuel to the fire. One day, as I endured Tom's ongoing criticisms while doing the housework, he came home from work apparently in a bad mood and, seeing me folding laundry by myself, clicked his tongue loudly. "You're lucky. All you have to do every day is the same housework. Whether something unpleasant happened at work or not." He took out his frustration on me. Knowing that talking back would only amplify Tom's anger, I continued folding the laundry in silence. Then, feeling ignored, Tom stomped over to where I was and kicked the folded laundry forcefully. "Hey, what are you doing? As Tom shifted his gaze from the messed up laundry to me, he snorted and laughed. Is it really worth getting so angry about? Just fold them again. I'm not just sitting around with nothing to do. I have everything scheduled, like preparing dinner and heating the bath. With all the tasks I have, this throws off the whole schedule, doesn't it? Then you should just do it faster, Tom said coldly, looking down on me. When I glared at him sternly, my husband smirked with even more disdain. What's with that look? You're living off me and yet you're quite defiant. Parasites living an easy life should just listen to what I say. Parasite? I was so taken aback by his rude words that I was at a loss for words. I couldn't understand how he could say something so insensitive. I had been called various things by Tom before, but being called a parasite was the last straw. Tears of sadness and anger spilled from my eyes. Seeing my state, my husband sighed with annoyance. Oh, come on. A crying parasite? What a nuisance. As Tom was laughing at me with contempt, suddenly, the living room door swung open. When we looked towards the door, my mother-in-law entered with a furious expression. Mom, welcome back. Tom, surprised, greeted her with a forced smile, but my mother-in-law glared at him with an unprecedented anger. Tom, what did you do to Hillary? I looked up at my mother-in-law while wiping away my tears. It seemed she had heard Tom's verbal abuse. Tom fell silent, trembling with a pale face. This was the first time I had seen my mother-in-law so angry. Indeed, Tom had told me before that his mother was strict and could be scarier than anyone when angry. Tom had always tried not to anger his mother, but this situation was unavoidable. As Tom looked down, trembling, his mother prompted him with a cold voice. Can you hear me? Hillary is taking care of our home every day, and what did you say to her? My mother-in-law continued, scolding Tom in a calm yet angry tone. Even I flinched at the intensity of her anger. This was the first time I had seen her so angry, and I was just shocked. But she's not working, and she's just living off us. If she's not working, she should at least do the housework. Tom snapped back as if coming to his senses, yelling at me, what's wrong with calling her a parasite? Hearing the word parasite again, tears welled up in my eyes. Seeing my state, my mother-in-law was outraged and scolded Tom, stop it. Hillary being a full-time homemaker was our request. She could have continued working, but she quit her job for us. Do you realize how grateful we should be for her to move in and live with her husband's family right after quitting her job? We once hired a housekeeping service when you were in elementary school, remember? But when we asked them to do everything, it ended up costing a fortune. Hillary is doing all those difficult tasks every day without a day off and without pay. Because Hillary takes care of the house, we can focus on our business. How can you not understand that? Despite my mother-in-law's attempt to reason, Tom refused to understand. It seems he thinks I'm just idle passing time at home. How can I make him understand? While I was pondering this, Tom's father and brother also returned from work. It seems they heard the scolding voice of my mother-in-law at the entrance and were surprised by the scene unfolding in the living room, with Tom's father asking, what happened? Hillary, were you crying? Tell us what happened. Tom's brother spoke to me and patted my back. When my mother-in-law explained the situation, both Tom's father and brother became furious upon learning of the events. Even when confronted by 3 family members, Tom raised his voice, seemingly unable to accept it. Why? Why is everyone taking her side? Tom, enough. You don't understand Hillary's struggles at all. Even Tom's usually quiet and reserved father scolded him. Despite his father's anger, Tom remained undeterred. Anyone can do housework, right? There are plenty of women who work and do housework in this day and age. Why is she getting special treatment? Then, my mother-in-law's expression hardened and she gave Tom a cold look. You really don't get it. From now on, you'll do everything for yourself. What? Tom was taken aback by his mother's command. I was also speechless, but then my mother-in-law turned to me with a smile. Hillary, from now on, you don't have to worry about Tom. Don't prepare his meals, do his laundry, or anything else for him, she said, pointing at Tom with a smile. As I was bewildered, Tom's brother agreed. That's right. Let him experience the hardships you've been through. Tom protested, "That's just going to make her lazier. It's unfair," but his father shouted, "Silence. If you think it's unfair, then show us an example. Work and then come home and manage the housework properly. Then, we'll consider asking Hillary to work as well." My mother-in-law continued with an attitude that left no room for rebuttal. Perhaps overwhelmed by the pressure from the three, Tom reluctantly accepted his mother's directive. Since then, I've been doing the household chores for everyone except Tom. Tom, it seemed, had his pride. At first, he awkwardly managed the housework with a show of confidence. It was the first time I saw him doing housework, and I was surprised. I thought, he can do it if he tries. When cooking, he looked confused at times, but I did not offer my help. Tom's attitude suggested he didn't need my assistance. Sometimes he seemed dissatisfied with his own cooking, possibly because it wasn't very tasty. Watching him, I suddenly remembered how Tom used to enjoy the meals I cooked before we were married. Lately, he hasn't complimented my cooking, leaving me feeling a bit sad. Then, one weekday night, damn, I forgot to iron. After taking a bath and getting ready for bed, Tom muttered in frustration while holding a wrinkled shirt. He glanced at me briefly, but I deliberately ignored it. "I'm tired, so I'm going to bed first. Good night." I thought to myself it might seem cold, but lending a hand now wouldn't change anything. Afterward, Tom managed to keep up with the housework for a while under the watchful eyes of his mother and the rest of the family. However, it seems he couldn't keep it up for more than a few weeks and finally reached his limit. "Hillary, sorry, I need help," he pleaded with me in a wary voice. Though Tom had been putting on a brave face, it was clear that after working hard from morning till evening every day, he had no energy left for housework. Moreover, he seemed to think that housework was just about preparing meals, doing the laundry, and occasionally cleaning, neglecting the finer details like ironing shirts and taking care of bags and shoes. It appeared he finally realized that the housework he thought was simple actually took up a significant amount of time. "I finally understand that you were always taking care of me in many ways," Tom murmured weakly. "Because I took care of his surroundings. He was always able to present himself cleanly and focus at work, something he finally appreciated. I was thinking about hiring a housekeeping service because it was too hard. But then I realized how expensive that would be. I now painfully understand what Mom meant when she said you are taking care of our home," Tom said with an almost tearful expression. "The housework I do isn't just about cooking for 5 people, doing laundry, or cleaning. It includes taking care of each person's commuting bags, shoes, watches, and preparing higher quality suits for important business meetings, among other things beyond ordinary chores. Also, organizing and categorizing the myriad of contacts from relatives, friends, and classmates to maintain the image of a successful business family is part of my job." This is why Tom's parents couldn't just hire a housekeeping service. Having strangers see potentially sensitive company documents was a concern. In this respect, I am a family member and don't cost anything. That's why they pleaded with me to take care of everyone in the household as a full-time homemaker, offering to give me a generous allowance for living expenses. Tom deeply apologized to me. "I'm really sorry for all the terrible things I've said. I really am sorry. I want to eat your cooking again, Hillary." Receiving Tom's sincere apology, I finally smiled back. "It seems you've learned your lesson well." Then, I heard my mother-in-law's voice and looked over. Tom's parents and brother were standing at the door, looking at us with a mix of astonishment and bemusement. My mother-in-law shrugged her shoulders and addressed Tom. "Just as Hillary has supported you, from now on, you should also support Hillary. Both work and housework are important, and you shouldn't act arrogantly or look down on your partner." Tom, looking bewildered at first, took her words to heart and nodded earnestly. Since reconciling with Tom, I have been diligently managing the household chores to support my family. Tom, no longer displaying any contemptuous attitude towards me, said, "We have days off from the company, but Hillary doesn't. Isn't that unfair?" He began helping with housework actively so that I would be able to have days off as well. Thanks to this, I've had more personal time for shopping, watching movies, and relaxing. Recently, I went out for lunch with my mother-in-law, enjoying a wonderful time together. Our relationship has deepened through this incident, and we're even planning a girls' trip, leaving the housework to the men next time. It'll surely be a meaningful trip, and I'm excited like a child, despite my worries at one point. I'm grateful to be blessed with such a wonderful family.